Your men can have love for the truckie. Beautiful minds, but we love getting ugly. Risk takers with a clover, man, we love getting lucky. You run, we chase fire, I love when it ducks me. Tones go off, house watch, read the address out. 1075, get up off the magic couch. 500 gallons prepared for the baddest drought. Who else you want on the way when disaster's out? Can't even get a little bit rattled when you enter with exit apparel. Mayday, member down, they'll drag you. You won't get this from every Tom, Dick, and Harold, but here's a view from the top floor with Mickey Farrell.
Another episode of A View from the Top Floor. For those of you that do follow the show, you often hear me speak about my personal board of directors, a group of individuals that I hold very dearly and very closely and trust with every ounce when it comes to doing the right thing, not only on the fire ground, but navigating this world of education within the fire service. My guest today, I'm lucky enough to have on that board of directors, and he needs no introduction, Ray McCormack from the Harlem Hilton and the FDNY. We sat down and we talked about the evolving landscape of the fire service, focusing on the importance of tradition and culture, as well as training and how we talk about mastering the basics will allow you to evolve throughout your career. All right, so stick around. This is a good conversation. It is an important conversation. And without any further ado, my friend, Ray McCormack. How was that Prius? You like that?
Oh, yeah. Thing still gets 45 miles to the gallon, bro. It's 12 years old.
Is it
What in there? 240 miles, 40,000 on it. Gave me a problem once. It was a manufacturer's defect. The computer went on it. $4,500. It was completely covered.
Really?
I had over 100K on the car. I drove it in there. They go, oh, it's the computer. It's going to be a while. That was when they couldn't get computer chips. So for 5 weeks, I drove a car they gave me. That's perfect.
Now, do you like the Tesla better than this?
I like the Tesla. I don't know if it's going to work for me, but I do like it. But technology is amazing.
That's the car we had in, where were we? In Houston, we had that car.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to really grasp it there, though, because...
Houston, I hated driving there. I'll never drive it there.
Yeah.
I'm ready, bro.
All right, we're going. So where do you think in the fire service that we're slipping in tradition? And how do we get it back?
Well, tradition is one of those things that is slippery. It's like it's never going to be the same 30 years hence in the future. So to prevent it from completely sliding away and having unmotivated, undisciplined firefighters, you have to pay attention to the culture that you create. You have to create a culture that's strong. You think you wake up one day and you go, where did it go? But I think knowing that little changes can affect a lot of different things. It's like on the fire ground, right? You know, if something was to happen later, wouldn't have the same effect as it does at that time. So tradition is important. I think that having traditions and passing them on and making the new people aware of what the traditions are in that firehouse or fire department is important. And that really is building your culture. You have to have a strong culture, because if you don't have a good foundation, again, things are going to get rattled and things are going to change. How do we get it back? I think we have to hold fast on what we have. As for getting some things back, that I don't know. I think it's almost like once the cat's out of the bag, it's done. So that's why you have to have gatekeepers. Like, you have to have people who care about the traditions of the fire service. Not silly ones, obviously, meaningful ones. You want firefighters that value tradition when it matters to value tradition. You know, being attentive at work, showing up at work, you know, and being ready to work. All those things are maybe not traditions in the sense of like, you know, how we look in our uniform and stuff, but the tradition of being competent and being effective. Those things start to slip away also.
Yeah.
And making those firefighters aware of the fact that the firehouse has a rich tradition. And you know, it's funny, like, they should be taught the traditions of the fire department in their training.
Yeah.
I mean, they really should, because you can't expect somebody to know it necessarily. They're just not going to know all that stuff. And they may not know what's important. But, you know, I remember seeing, I was in a firehouse and they had some rules for working there. And basically it had like a list of 21 things. And it basically said if you can't deal with that, maybe you shouldn't work here.
Yeah.
And while that's not official, it's a hold on tradition because they thought those 21 things were very important. And they are very important. And it all goes to the character of the firefighter and what values they hold dear. And I would say as a whole, we're very lucky with the values our firefighters have. I mean, we went to somebody's house, jewelry sitting on the counter, it's not enticing at all.
Yeah.
You look past all that because you have a job to do and it doesn't concern you. And you know where to focus. Like that's a distraction for a lot of people. Not for us. That's why firefighters are honest, hardworking people, and that's the respect. That's a tradition you never want to lose.
Yeah. I think with culture, I get a kick out of when now every conference we go to, there's a class on culture. You can't teach culture. I think culture is very personal. You have to own that culture, good or bad. And I think that's why a lot of places, when you have bad culture, you can change it. And why some places, when you have good culture, it can change as well. That's why there's standards. You have to rise to the standards. What's great about our job and in places we've worked is that there was always a high standard.
Yes.
And going back to the rules you were saying, those rules that when you come into the firehouse, this generation today wants the rules written down. They want everything. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do that? Why is this the tradition? Why is this the culture? So the guy at my firehouse, he came, he wanted it written down. So they wrote him down some basics. Like This is what basically, like you said, the outline to work in this firehouse. Is it at the point we're at today? Maybe it's good we do that to document it. But again, I just think culture is very personal. And, even within our job, every firehouse has a different culture.
100%.
And it's like, even when you're a carpenter officer, you're finding the culture that fits you.
Yes.
Because everyone has a little bit different one. There's a different standard. I see today on the fire ground that when we're losing fear in the firehouse, because that's how, like you said, we have to have the gatekeepers. When you lose the fear, you lose the gatekeeper, and then you lose the standards, you don't rise to them. So on the fire ground, I'm seeing in real time it transforming from the kitchen to the fire ground, and it's not always the most positive. And I don't think that's across the board, but it's starting to trickle in different places.
Well, it does. It trickles in. Firefighter that I worked with, one of our senior firefighters, he always said firemen are made in the kitchen. And that sort of related to you're going to get harassed. And if you can't take the harassment, what else can you take? Is it too hot for you? Too smoky? These are all fears that firefighters have to overcome to a great extent. But I will twist it a little bit. I don't have a problem with a firefighter asking why something is that way. So they're basically asking, what is this tradition and why is it important? They're not getting that information given to them, so they're looking for it when they get to the firehouse. I think that can sometimes be misinterpreted by some firefighters as, hey, I never asked that question. Why do you have to know that? But that's just the way it is. And, that kind of a bend I don't think is terrible, as long as they get with the program, so to speak. And like you say, every firehouse has a program, if you will. But again, keeping guys abreast of what you want them to do is a daily thing. It's daily. I mean, you come in, you go over the rig, you spend time looking at your tools, fixing them, cleaning them, making sure everything's squared away. These are tasks that guys should find enjoyable.
Yeah.
These are not hardships. This is making sure when that fire truck leaves the quarters, it's got everything it can working, and you know how to work with it. And that's what builds the team, all that stuff. It's a great opportunity for teamwork. So when the young guys come in, guys or girls come in, you have to take them under your wing. You do. Even back when I started, yes, there might have been a little bit more breaking on guys, but there was also the teaching. Because they wanted you to be good. They wanted you to be like them.
I find that we are giving ourselves, or we're doing ourselves a disservice by not teaching it in the academy. But that's the problem. They don't want you to teach culture. They want you to teach black and white. This is the fire department.
Correct.
And there is no culture in the fire department. But that's the outside pushing in.
Yeah.
But anytime, when I was teaching public school, and at the end, we have 10 minutes left, I would start talking culture, because you want to set them up for success.
Yeah.
And we're setting them up for failure by telling them, no, there's no personalities on this job. This job is it lives on personality.
Yeah,
You know,
most certainly does.
so like you said, I think we need the gatekeepers. Culture's personal, but it starts in the academy, and I think it starts for even the conferences where, again, it's personalized. But if we create a level of standards on a national level and then a personal level, you kind of meet in the middle, and it's important. And it is slipping, but it's not dead. I think the
Oh,
fire service is alive and
oh,
probably better than it ever has been. But
oh, it's definitely, look, there are a lot of challenges for today's fire service that weren't there years ago, and education is definitely a part of that. You have to stay educated. And what firefighters have to realize is that they should enjoy all that. It shouldn't be a hardship to read about something. I know a lot of firefighters don't really like to read, which is a bit of a shame, but you have to force yourself sometimes to just stay abreast of what's going on. The last thing, you can't know everything, but the last thing you want to be is embarrassed because you don't know something you should know.
yeah,
That's bad. So when we bring them into the firehouse and we show them our culture that we currently have, hopefully it's strong. One of the things that I think works against cultures in a lot of fire departments is the work schedule. And there's good and bad to work schedules. When firefighters work together constantly, they form a very cohesive team, but it's also very much like separate fire department works this day,
yeah,
next day, next day. We came from a system where it's a mix. You work with some core people, but you entertain all firefighters at some point in your shifts, and that's great. But again, there's other factors. We all have the same sheet of music,
yeah.
all of that stuff. You can still be an individual. Obviously, we have plenty of phenomenal individual firefighters, and we have other firefighters who are quiet and they're just hard workers, and they don't say much. Saying much doesn't mean you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, usually the most quiet ones are the best ones.
Yeah, yep.
Let's talk about details. Everything about this job comes to details, from the firehouse to the kitchen table to the fireground. Most importantly, details. What do you think is the main detail being missed in engine company operations today?
The main detail being missed in engine company operations. Well, for some departments, I guess this would fluctuate. One is our over-reliance on a continuous water supply. UL has done the studies, like 50 gallons to put out a room, another 50 for a hallway. Even with a 500-gallon tank, that's 5-to-1 factor of safety. We're arriving on scene with a tank of water. We should be using it, and get a sustained water supply. But we've devalued the booster tank so much in the fire service, it's crazy. And I think we need to build up that value, because that's something that goes across the board. That's for all fire departments. As for like some things that they suffer, people don't know how to stretch to where they need to go. They don't know the fundamentals of stretch estimation. And they often look to bundles of hose to fix it, when in reality, the fix was a better stretch or a bigger hose bed. I always believe that a fire department should have a static hose bed in the back. Give up some space for the large diameter hose, get yourself a long stretch bed, because it helps you in a lot of ways. It opens up the whole world of the longer stretch, and it also allows you to not rely on the pre-connect guess, and then you're not trying to always fix everything. I get that you can extend the line. I fully understand that, but it shouldn't be the common thing. It should be the rarity. That's my opinion, right? But so that's one thing. And then the nozzle firefighter, the backup on the door, not really working as a well-oiled team. And I told you this before, I'm going to do a class on that, because I think it's very important. I watch plenty of nozzle firefighters at trainings, and they're always, they bleed the line, or, they're getting water in the line, and they never look back to their setup. Turn around and look to make sure that your setup is good. Like you're flowing and it's not so great. Yeah, if you turned around and look, there's 2 kinks behind you that you should have taken care of already. So firefighters need to have poise. Poise is a big thing, because poise allows you not to lose your head. Any officer that you have worked with who was a screamer, that doesn't help things.
Yeah.
So firefighters fall into that same thing. They may not be screaming, but they get distracted by the task. Can you drill it into them? Yes, I think you can. I think you can drill it into them. Look at, I'll just use this as an example. They've used technology and better teamwork. You look at a pit stop these days, it's 2 to 3 seconds long.
Yeah.
That they did that because they drilled on it. They came up with some other things to do.
And there's no communication. It's understanding where you fit in and
Yep,
right in that moment.
exactly.
That, you know,
We can do that. We can function better as a team and not miss these things. There's a lot of things that are missed in the heat of battle. Well, the heat of battle is always going to be there. It's always the heat of battle, but you have to discipline yourself that you are not going to get lost in not looking at the small things that end up being big things.
yeah. They always compare the game of chess to the fireground, especially from the engine company, where that opening move, that pawn moving in a position, it seems so simple. But that's as simple as the coupling being stuck on the tire of a parked car, just picking it up and dropping it 2 feet.
Yeah.
That ultimately is going to be the event that causes the reaction of success. That's checkmate, water on the fire. Is that one move?
Sure.
That's the pawn moving into position. You don't realize it because there's so many little moments and details that we overlook. I think that's one of them that we overlook a lot is the basics of a stretch. Like you said, looking back.
Mm-hmm.
How is it looking? It flaked out.
Yeah.
Another one I think is the pre-connect has gotten us into this routine of not understanding apparatus positioning. We're parking the engine right outside the fire building, blocking out the truck. Does everyone have a truck? No, but when you do, we have to think about pre-connects don't really work if we're going to position the truck properly and the engine properly. Time and place, yes, but a lot of times the engine's boxing out the truck now because they have to get that line. They're very limited to how far they can stretch. They're going back to that long stretch off the back, that static load. That's something that we don't drill on. I think it should be talked about more is proper engine positioning.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Proper engine positioning is very important for urban, suburban, and rural. It matters, most definitely matters. And again, the pre-connect has a lot of advantages, obviously. It's a quick attack line. It's already estimated for you. It gives you a rough estimate. Yeah. Most people can look at, hey, they got a 30-foot setback to the house. The house is not that big. Okay, 150 here is plenty. Perfect. Now just find a place to stretch it out in. Yeah. But again, what it pulls us away from is the math of figuring something out. So now you go somewhere else, a little bit bigger, different numbers, and now people are hoping for the best.
Yeah.
And hope is not the way to operate. So while it facilitates usually a rapid stretch, it also leaves a lot to be desired under certain circumstances. So you can't get like fixated on it. You have to, look at different things. That's why conferences are good sometimes too. You get to see different things and you learn about different things because your area just isn't this firehouse. Yeah. It's a lot bigger than that. Yeah.
Something that I like the way how you and Steve and Anthony and the group of guys you teach engine company operations with. You don't necessarily say this is how it has to be done. You just show them ways to get it done.
Yeah.
And that's where the success comes from. You can take, like you said, the conference, all these different ideas, and then bring them back. See what works for you. And that's why conferences are good. I do like to fight the conference and hate on the conference. And I get it because, again, I think firefighting is very localized. But you master your localized fire department by going and seeing what everyone else is doing and then bringing it back.
Yeah, I think you have to, the local conferences are very popular and that is the big trend these days and that's great. And you're getting trained by some people that or they're from your region. The only thing is, like with any conference, we have to make sure it's not just like an echo chamber.
Yeah.
If that person teaching you knows the stretches you do, that's great. But if that's all they can add, they need more too.
Yeah.
Because you should get more than you need. You shouldn't just get what you need. You should get more than that. That's the beauty of a real conference success.
Let me ask you a question on stretching. And this is something that I feel that, not a hot topic, but I've seen it more recently and guys challenging different ideas, debating it. But stretching dry into a private dwelling. People are doing this for the argument's sake, we're understaffed. How do you feel about that?
I don't think that's a smart idea. I never did.
Yeah.
Especially a small, like private dwelling, 2-story or whatever, or a small 2-family. I think that's going to backfire on you at some point.
Yeah.
one of the things with stretching in a multiple dwelling is the doors are fire rated. The apartment doors are fire rated. The hallways are fire rated. Luan doors in private homes, no, I don't really want to sit there dry.
Yeah.
You can only be tough for so long with a dry line. The other thing that happens with dry lines is they get stuck under a lot of things.
Yeah.
So where do you test the flow of your line? This is another thing a lot of people just blow off, like bleeding the line, not just of the air, but checking the flow of the line. It's not a long thing. It doesn't take a long time, but you should check that, shut it down. That's the best guarantee you went through all the proper steps.
Yes.
You can't do that in a house. So I don't know what kind of work you're trying to save yourself by going up 10 steps.
Yeah.
And it's a time bomb. It really is a time bomb.
I think people are winging it and they're getting by. They're getting lucky.
Of course.
There's two things that I'm concerned about with that. Being from the truck mindset, is I'm going to the floor above. We're going to search those measures. I have my OV coming in off a ladder. I don't want a dry line waiting for water in the fire building. You know, I think that's counterproductive, and I think it's very dangerous. That's our line of defense. So, no, we're not waiting for that line to be charged, but everything we do has a timestamps, flow state formula, and everything we do. Every fire has a different tempo. As I'm going above, I'm expecting my OV getting to that window at a certain time. I'm expecting them to say start water and knowing exactly where they are with that line, you know? Again, those are just the details we overlook, but and again, another one is, even if you go to, say it's in the attic, and you go to the second floor and you call for water, but now all of a sudden it's a balloon frame building, you missed it. Now the fire's below you. Now we're way out of position.
Oh, 100%.
So how do you recover from that? I mean,
look, that's why we charge the line out.
Yeah.
So that we have water with us in case something unforeseen should happen. If it was all cut and dry and there was better protection built into the house, like a multiple dwelling, yeah, fine. But you can't. I would never do that. And like you're mentioning, it's not just the engine who's at risk. The public is at risk, and so are other firefighters trying to complete their test. The engine with a dry line inside a place is a hazard. Not a help, it's a hazard. I just recently had somebody say to me that he was FDNY and he used to stretch into commercials dry. And I'm like, first of all, that was against policy, and
yeah,
why would you do that? That is not a smart thing to do. If you need help, you ask for it.
Yeah.
Like, we had a chief in my battalion. He was a senior chief there. And he wanted that line up the interior stairs, the first line. Now, that came out of the days of arsonists, when they would set fires below you and things like that. But he also knew that he was protecting the egress, which is really what a hose line does. It protects egress first, and then it goes and finds the fire. Protecting that egress is critical. That's why I don't like seeing alternative stretches to the fire floor, because you go through a window, bring the line through a window on the fourth floor. Okay, now you follow that line back. That's your search line. You end up at a window in an interior courtyard or something. How do you get safe now?
Yeah.
But if it goes down the stairs and you follow it, now you go down the stairs and you're good. So these shortcuts are not a good idea.
Yeah.
Get good at doing the stretch, and it'll be fast.
And that's an important thing. What you just said is, if you're doing a bottle stretch, say it's a cockloft fire, don't go to the top floor and drop it. You can go to the floor below, even if it's a cockloft fire. That's still, you have to be a floor below.
And some of these places, the way they're built, there's truss lofts on every floor, you know, between the ceiling and the next level. So until you know the safe, even if you did, you know, it has to have a fire resistant rating. We shouldn't even be talking about stuff like this. Guys who mention this to me are, and I've seen it in articles and stuff, they're perfectly fine because they've kind of gotten information from trusted sources. Then they come up with their own little thing right off the cliff. The advice is garbage.
That's the problem. You're right. We shouldn't be talking about this, but unfortunately, with social media, no one's vetting anyone. The information's out there, and I'm seeing it more and more where I'm like, this is just, it's wrong. It's drastically wrong. It's dangerously wrong, you know?
Yep.
I don't know. We're in a weird crossroads right now with social media and the influencers, quote unquote, out there. But
hey, I'm one of those.
Yeah.
Take a little note on what you said. Like, it's unvetted, And that's true. And everybody has an opinion, and that seems to be like, well, that's, I'm entitled to my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course you are, but it's not right. There are some things that are right, and there's some things that are wrong. I get it. And, it's just like, why would you do some of these things?
Yeah.
It's dangerous. The engine is there to raise the safety level, not lower it. That's another thing. That's the job of the engine, to protect, not to be up there with a dry line and hoping that you get water in it sometime.
Yeah. I love Mike Smith from 48 Engine. He said that engine firemen are problem fixers. From the beginning to end, they are fixing problems along the way and ultimately ending the problem. But you have to be problem fixer.
Yeah.
I love that analogy of it. As far as being an influencer, quote unquote, within the firehouse, the guy that doesn't want to be on social media, the guy that doesn't want to be out teaching, the guy that doesn't want to go to rock. What's a great way from leadership from within your company? But what do you think is the starting point of becoming an influencer on a small level within your firehouse, from the senior guy to the middle management and on down?
Oh, I think you just have to, if you have someone that you need to reach, I think you have to just sit down and have some conversations with them. Not accusatory, just conversations, and develop a little bit of a rapport and a mutual respect, which you should have already. But I think when people get in groups, they can go into a shell or they follow whatever the group is saying. And I think to reach somebody that you need to convince, I think you need to do a little one-on-one.
Yeah.
I think they value that. You'll get better results that way. So, and look, everybody's not a superstar, and everybody's not going to get everything right away. But I think the attitude, and that's where that culture comes in, try and maintain that positive attitude. But there are firefighters who are very blasé about everything. They don't really care to mix with people. It's kind of odd. I find that odd behavior. But I think if you can talk to them a little bit, you're going to get some movement. Is it going to be exactly what you want? That I don't know. It may not fully move the needle, but I don't think you can just rule with an iron fist. There's time for that too, but if you're trying to corral somebody onto your side, I think you need to just have a sit down with them, more than one. It's always good to join in the conversation with the firefighters and see what they're up to without dominating. Especially a boss, you have to know when to say.
I think humility is a lot too. Once you open up and you show humility, that shows loyalty, I feel like. And now we're all playing on the same field here. Like, listen, I made all these same mistakes you're making.
Yeah.
Just trust me. Do this and this. I've already made them. I already navigated this. Learn from my mistakes. I think if you approach it that way, that's ultimate success, because humility levels the playing field. I think humility is the forward progression of the fire service, from the fire ground and the firehouse. But with type A personalities, which out of fire, you have to be type A to survive. You also have to be able to step out of that personality sometimes, and I think admit your humility. We're only human,
Right.
And it is only firefighting. It's not rocket science. Is there a science to it, and is there an art form to it? Absolutely. But when you really break it down, it's just firefighting.
Well, I'll say this about the FDMY. They provided great bumpers for us.
Yeah.
We didn't throw a lot of gutter balls because between the procedures and everybody understanding them, I mean, even the probie knows where everybody is on the first alarm and what their function is, down to the firefighters in the truck and everything. They understand that. So the lanes that we stayed in with the bumpers on there, you're going to make mistakes, but places that don't have any guidance, guys make big mistakes.
Yeah. You have to have, so this is something I wrote about recently, was SOPs, SOGs. Do we need them? And guys say absolutely not. We absolutely need them. We need a standard. So your fire, the famous fire, the roof rope rescue, you're all from different companies, but got the same job done, but very little communication probably. It's all just knowing where to fit in. You walked up on the roof, you had a guy from rescue, a guy from 24 truck, and you had a series of different guys from different companies. Yeah. And it was just, okay, let's do this.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other department in the world that can pull that off, because they don't have the standard set.
Another thing guys don't realize is everybody complains about the staffing levels. Okay. That's a valid complaint. When the east side of town does something one way and the west side of town does it another, and now you go from east to west to work there, and you don't understand what the hell they're doing, you can't help them. So you just went down a guy. That's another thing that happens without SOPs. People are scratching their head. I've never seen this operation before. Where do I fit in? They can't fit in because they don't know what's going
It
on.
creates confusion, and then confusion ultimately creates chaos.
Yeah.
And that's just not by understanding where you fit in. A great firefighter is a great firefighter because you can look at any step along the way from point A to Z and fill in an F and know exactly what to do in that moment. That's what makes a great firefighter.
Yeah.
A lot of good firefighters out there. What makes a great one is understanding the details of when the actual moment to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, things have changed over the years, obviously, but every generation has great firefighters. They really do. Whether it's, their personal pride, that means something, their conviction, their courage. It all comes into play. I mean, the whole package of a firefighter that's a good fireman is quite a package.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of them. I mean, you meet them every day. Every department has great firefighters. It's great, but there are some issues that eroded things, no doubt. And unfortunately, I'll say management doesn't know how to handle a lot of this stuff. There's people that think they know how to handle it, but the fire service is very unique. It's like no other organization in the world, really. It takes a special management style. Can you teach some of it? Yeah. Some of it, I don't think it's teachable, though. I think it just has to be how you are with people, because you and I have both worked with officers that were phenomenal, and other guys were good. And other guys were like, he's all right, but, like his quirks overwhelmed his qualities, and that's another thing. You can't have that either. But all in all, through our system at least, we funnel them up with culture and they continue it. But again, it does change. Culture does change. Little things like when I started, we had the house watch, and we each had a card, wooden plaque with our name and badge number on, and that had to go outside on this little holder in case anybody from outside came in. They would know that this is so-and-so on watch. That's gone.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the worst thing in the world to be gone, but those things change.
But those little things
they
pile up to big things. That's what romanticizes this job, are those little things, right?
Yeah.
Over time, when we start to lose those little certain intricacies of the job, it's the dominoes fall the wrong way very quickly, and that's why I don't know. I really think we have to try to preserve what we have left and bring back the traditions. I think it's very important for any young firefighter to learn the stories, the men that came long before you, but also learn the stories of the job. Learn the famous fires that made
the history.
Yeah, made the history. Why our books are written certain ways, because we're very reactive in the fire service. So be proactive by reading the history. Understand why we got to a certain place.
Well, that is something, hopefully, if you go into a firehouse and you see some magazines or some special interest stuff on a table, that's usually a pretty good sign. It doesn't have to be that, but our own magazine is a great thing. I just talked to a fellow today. He goes, I get that magazine. I'm like, yeah, it's good. It's great. And again, that's also part of our culture. Printing up our own stuff and talking about our triumphs and our shortcomings. So it's built into like what we do. We do reviews and we put it out there. We learn from it. And, if you're not talking to your people, or your people have no way to speak to you, that's not good.
Yeah.
That's not a good culture. Everything goes down. The chiefs or whoever can send messages down, but it's very difficult to send messages up the pipeline. So a lot of times I think what happens is things just stop at the firehouse level, and that's good enough for a lot of stuff, but some things really need to change at the top, and that's harder to do. So,
yeah. Oh, yeah. I always love those open forums when the chief walks in and says, guys, open book, what do you got? It's never truly an open book, You got to be very careful in those situations.
When you say somebody, do you really want to know
Yeah.
what I think? And they go, yeah. And then you tell them, and you just see this look of like, on their face, and it's like, you really didn't.
Yeah.
And next time, I know enough not to say that.
So, right, one last question for you before we go. What's the one fire you want back?
One fire I want back? My first one. I'd like to relive that again.
Where was that? 24 trucks?
Yeah. Yeah. For good and bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, my first one had everything. The sounds, the heavy smoke, the screaming. I mean, it's the whole package. Yeah. So yeah, that one.
Good. All right, guys, thanks for sticking around and checking out the show. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. One announcement, Ray and I will both be at the Fire Shows West in Reno, Nevada, this coming September 30th to October 3rd. Ray's giving the keynote on Wednesday morning at 10:30. I'm giving my class, Fire Academy to the Fire Floor. That's on Friday morning at 10:30. So if you're at the show, be sure to come up, say hello. Please like, subscribe, and share the show. Until next time, Mickey Fowl, stay low and let it blow.